do you use the ladder in practice? What are practical examples of using the ladder? Well, working with the ladder is not difficult. Broadly speaking, it involves two processes. First, you plan your change from top to bottom. You choose your goal, you translate it into behavior, and you choose your support. In this way, you make a realistic plan. And then, secondly, you get to work. You try it out from bottom to top to see if it works. You make sure your support techniques are organized. Then you try out the new desired behavior, and that way you work towards your goal. Along the way, you check how things are going and adapt if necessary. I like to put it like this. First, the ladder takes you down to earth, and second, the ladder takes you to the next level. Let me share a real-life example. Recently, I spoke to a supervisor who works at a construction company. He had used the ladder to improve his leadership style. His goal was to prevent mistakes in the construction process, step by step, instead of fixing them afterwards. And he knew this will be a learning process. The behavior he had planned was every morning at 7:30, before the joint stand-up meeting, I will walk around the construction site and have short conversations with at least 5 construction workers. This way he could speak to all employees every week. To support this behavior, he had a notification on his phone, and he had also discussed it with a colleague so he would remind him. Once he had completed his first ladder this way, he set out to try it. He had decided to evaluate at the end of each working week, is the plan working as it should? In the first week, he found out that the desired behavior, walking around the site and having conversations, was not enough. He determined that he also had to describe more clearly what he was going to discuss with the construction workers. So he wrote down for himself, I'm going to ask them about the job they're working on, and I'm going to ask them if there are any obstacles or problems that need solving. That worked a lot better. And 2 weeks later, he added, I will discuss those obstacles and problems immediately afterwards at our daily stand-up meeting, so we can solve them immediately. And this worked even better. It's a simple example, but it shows that you often have to try something first in real life before you discover what really works and how to formulate your behavior or your goal or your support. Let me share a few more lessons about that second stage in applying the ladder, trying out your plan in real life. Once you've got your plan ready and you want to try it out, there are 3 things to keep in mind. First, be constantly aware that change is all about learning. It's not about trying to prove that you've designed the ideal plan with an attitude of, look at me, I'm doing it right the first time. No, that's completely unimportant. Rather, it's about finding an approach that works for you and it brings you closer to your goal. That's the yardstick. What you're doing, in fact, is continually going through what scientists call the empirical cycle. You have an idea about how you're going to approach a change, you make a start, and you see if it works. It's an ongoing experiment. Second, to experiment well, you need a few rules. I'll mention the most important ones. Plan evaluation moments beforehand. Don't evaluate continually, but set a few evaluation dates before you start experimenting. Based on the info you have then, decide whether to continue on your chosen path. Define criteria prior to the evaluation. Which results will you be satisfied with? Adapt as you go along, using the ladder model and your common sense. How? Well, if you're constantly failing to put the desired behavior into practice, take a long, hard look at your support. Ask yourself, is it strong enough? Or is the desired behavior perhaps a little bit too ambitious? And if you're exhibiting the behavior, but you're not getting any closer to your goal, ask yourself, did I choose the right behavior? Or, also a possibility, is my goal maybe too ambitious? And then my third and last advice for when you're in the try phase. Realize that some problems will always be there. Some problems you're working on will change while you're dealing with them. other problems are so complex that we simply never get to see the whole picture. So no, the ladder is not a magic wand that can make everything in the world perfect in a few weeks. But yes, it is a realistic and simple framework that will help you work on behavior change. And in many cases, that is the most important way to work on solutions, on improvements, and on a better future, in your work and in the rest of your life.